So in March, when I signed on, it basically Ancestry, what it does is it ranks the people that you have matches with by the closest match that that you have. And so my maternal grandmother was on there, and she was always kind of at the top. And then when I signed on, like I said, this year in March, I had this William Bradbury, and I thought, holy cow, like, who's this? Like, this is a person that's clearly not from my mother's family. I knew that. And so this person has to know who my father is. And so, they quantify, and I looked at the quantity, and it said something to, his close family member, and they said something about uncle and half brother possibly, and I was thinking this could even be my father. I didn't know, but it was somebody who would have known, had to know the last name or the story or where my family was from. So I thought, okay, I got it now. So I wrote to William Bradbury that night, of course, but I was telling him the story that I had been led to believe. Like, do you know this person? I was approaching her from that angle because in my mind I was like, trying to prove this story to be right or not.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not giving him any information because I don't know this. He's trying to con me as far as I'm concerned.
And he didn't respond back until May. Like May. Yeah, in May he responded.
May 16th.
And I had kind of forgotten about it. I mean, I didn't forget about it. I went to work the next day. I was like, oh my God, someone popped up my DNA, and this is it. Like, I'm gonna find out that whatever. And so then he didn't write back, and I was busy anyways. And so then I would keep checking, and then when he wrote back, he said no, right? Because this last name I was giving him wasn't it, and then at that point, I had that piece of the story, and I was thinking, all right. And I was telling Arthur, I said, I may not be a Bradbury. I mean, an Overton. I said, this story may not be the truth like I thought. And so I spoke with my mom, and I had to, because I let her know about the DNA match, and I had this person that was really close. And what I really needed my mom to do is I needed my mom to be willing to shift her story a little bit, and that was a hard shift for her, and it was difficult. I mean, I'm 47, and so this is the story I had been led to believe, and I had to get her to move and her to recollect facts and things like that. And that's when the floodgate opened, and I said, okay, so now I need details. Like, where were you in 1969, November-ish, that'd be the time that I was conceived. And she told me that she was working at the Naval Hospital in Oakland, which is it's actually closed now, but and my maternal grandfather worked there as well. He was in the Navy, and he drove ambulances to the hospital. So she said I worked there, and she also mentioned a ship that had come in, but that turned out to be kind of like a red herring, but it kind of, again, it was part of this process of like, okay, this could be really real, because I looked up the ship, and that ship had actually docked in the Bay Area in November of 1969. I was like, oh God, I'm getting somewhere. And then I decided, I wrote to my Uncle Bill, and I said, I need to call you maybe tonight, and because we had made plans to call on the weekend, but I said, can I call you tonight? He said, sure. And so I was really nervous, and Arthur was there. We were watching this show, this long lost family show, where adopted kids find their family through AncestryDNA. And I usually cry and cry. So anyways, I called my Uncle Bill, and I said, I don't know, where we have, what our connection is, but this is what I know. I said, my mom, I said, I don't know if you're my uncle, or, because at this point I knew it had to be somewhere like that. I knew he couldn't have been really a brother, or maybe a half brother, but I was doubtful about that. Or I said even my dad, I wasn't sure. I said, but my mom worked at the Naval Hospital in Oakland, and it's a very, like I said, a very specific hospital. And at that point, he said, that's my brother, Jack. And my hair's standing up again. And I have a lot of that over the last 3.5
Not me.
And then he explained to me that that his brother in fact worked at that hospital as a medic, and my mom worked, and it was a pretty small hospital.
Yeah.
And so he said that he'd also passed away in '91, and then the phone kind of went dead, and I was afraid because I wasn't calling to cause any sort of big
At
disruption.
that point, I was crying and I ended the phone.
Yeah, there's no I didn't want to disrupt anybody's lives, and I didn't want any pain. I just really wanted answers from me, and selfishly, in a lot of ways. And I told Arthur, I said, the phone is dead, and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, like this could have gone any way. This could have been someone on the other line. It's like, I don't want anything to do with you, or whatever. And so then my Aunt Lois here, she popped on the phone and she said, listen, she goes, Bill can't talk right now because he's upset, he's crying, and he's overwhelmed. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. She goes, no, he's overwhelmed, not in a bad way, just overwhelmed, and he's happy. And that gave me some relief at that point. And then I was talking a little bit, and I found out my father had passed away, which with the older story that man had passed away as well, so I felt like I'd already kind of dealt with that grieving a little bit, in so many ways, and it's coming up now a little bit now with the grief with my dad being gone, but at that point I had more just to find out the story and to find out the truth, and so that was at the forefront of my thoughts. And then, which I think was really amazing, is that this was late at night. This was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And so we exchanged email addresses because he also told me that we had a big family reunion in July. And, and I think I felt like, we were nervous. And he's like, there's this family reunion coming up. And I was like, sure. But he actually scanned pictures in that night to email them to me. It was like really late at night.
I sent him a bunch of...
Yeah, I got pictures that evening. Yeah. And so, of course, I don't know if I even slept that night, but it was, that was crazy. And
3 months it's been.
Yeah, it's been like 3.5 months right now. And then
you can't get rid of him now.
And then we made plans. So we interacted on email and through Facebook, and with my aunt here took over. She runs things. Yeah. So, and I told her
brains are back there.
She told me she was also a really one of my dad's very best friends. As a young teen, and
we go back to 15, 13 years old. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So here I was, one of the craziest, and I don't know, just one of the most amazing things is that the people that I found were my dad's best friends. I found my dad's best friend in my Aunt Lois, and I also found my dad's best friend in my uncle, because they were in school together. They were in the same grade, and they've been described as two sides of the same coin. And so this whole 47-year-old journey led me to the two people that I should have found. And in my mind, it's like, and a piece of me feels like I'm kind of like taking the place of that third wheel that they've always had with them. And I feel like that sometimes. Yeah. And I feel like that's what my uncle feels.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I come in, I feel, and he could probably speak to that more.
No, I can't. I'm still crying.
I think he would disagree if he needed to, but I feel that way. So we came out over Memorial Day weekend, and and I was a little nervous, but I think Arthur would tell you I wasn't as nervous as he thought I should have been. I was on a mission. This is 47 years of not feeling connected and trying to find answers. So I just was really eager to get here. And when we pulled up, we pulled up, and these guys were outside. You guys were over here.
Probably sitting here.
Yeah, and then
Arthur said,
oh yeah, Arthur, and then Arthur said, "Oh my God, you look like your Uncle Bill." He could see the resemblance, but he had seen pictures too.
I thought he said,
dad.
"Oh my God, you're as handsome as your uncle." He didn't say that.
He did say that.
I think
That's
he did say
exactly
that.
what he said. He's not going to feed. He's not going to feed your ego anymore. He's going to feed mine.
Okay.
So let's get that straight
Okay.
out.